your video talk about the PlayStation 3. You funny as hell, but you were dropping facts. I appreciate it, gang. I appreciate it. Anybody that ever had a PlayStation 3 know that I'm dropping facts, bro. Anybody, bro. Anybody that ever had a PlayStation 3 know I was dropping facts. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Fucking, where's this building at?
This is Shani speaking. There's a magnetic decryptor in the fuel control building. If it's still working, it may be able to decipher that research on earthquake-resistant housing.
Fuel control building? Oh, that's way over here. Golly.
Let's go to fuel control.
Ah, damn. But no, though. Anybody that ever had a PlayStation 3 know that I'm dropping facts, bro. PlayStation 3 was the best console ever to be made. You know, a lot of people are just naive and just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, you know, they trolling and shit. First of all, you know, trying to convince me, right? A person that does this shit, that the Xbox 360, I'm just gonna talk about the Xbox 360 right now because they was in the same generation. Anybody trying to sit there and trying to convince me that an Xbox 360, that dude look like he on bullshit, is better than the PlayStation 3. It's laughable. It's hysterical, bro. Like, and they always come with the same little arguments, right? Oh, well, the PlayStation 3 got hacked and blah, blah, blah. And the PlayStation 3 had better games and blah, blah, blah. And the PlayStation 3 was more affordable and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? All this old rhetoric talk. You know what I'm saying? I call those people hecklers, man. That's what they is, man. They a bunch of hecklers, man. Trying to cause diffusion and diversity and shit like that. You gonna shoot me, bro? What's up? You know what I'm saying? They trying to cause all that shit. And he got a free kit. But they trying to cause all that, right? Bro, check this out, right? How you gonna sit here with a straight face? And look, I get it. If that was your system that you grew up playing, because that was the system in your household, just say that. I'm perfectly fine with, you know, that's the system that you grew up playing. I'm perfectly fine with that. And that's the reason why you like it. But for you to sit here with a straight face and try to say that the Xbox 360 was a better console than the PlayStation 3, it's laughable, bro. Like, honestly, it is. First of all, y'all be trying to come with all these little hot points and keynotes and stuff like that, right? All I gotta say is red ring of death. And that right there should just shut up the argument right then and there. In totality. You feel me? Like, that should just shut up the argument. That's tough! You know what I'm saying? Like, what you gonna say about the PlayStation 3? The PlayStation 3 was too expensive. All right, but you got the red ring of death. You had to buy like 3 Xbox 360s. 3 Xbox 360s cost more than one PlayStation 3 does. Like, what are we talking about? What else you gonna say? Well, the PlayStation 3 online, it got hacked. Okay, it got hacked one time. And they gave us free games for our inconvenience. What did Xbox and Microsoft do when it came to your system blowing up? Did they give y'all a free console? Let alone a free game? Like, message. Like, what are we talking about here? What else you gonna say? But the Xbox 360 had better games. Who plays those games now? Who still? Is Halo still around? Is Gears of War still around? Is Fable still around? All those Xbox exclusive, are they still around? Huh? Now let's look at the PlayStation 3 exclusives. They still around. God of War 3 still come. I'm not saying not God of War 3, but God of War still comes out. And when I say come out, I ain't talking about no remake. I ain't talking about no. Hey, what's up? I ain't talking about no remake. I ain't talking about none of that bullshit. I'm talking about a brand new game. A brand new game. That's what I'm talking about. PlayStation exclusives still come out. Like, come on, bro. Miss me with that shit. For real. Trying to sit here with a straight face and say that the Xbox 360 is better than the PlayStation 3. Stop it, bro. God damn. You had to pay for your online. Your system was blowing up left and right. They didn't give you no type of compensation for the blow up. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, honestly, what are we talking about here? If you wanted Wi-Fi, you had to buy a dongle. The Xbox 360 came out with an outdated format, which was HD DVD, which you had to buy a dongle to have HD DVD, but it came out with regular DVD drive, not Blu-ray, a format that we're still using to this day, 20 years later. Like, the Xbox 360 is a joke of a console, bro. For real. And I'm not trying to be mean when I say it. Honestly, y'all shouldn't care that much because it's not like you made a console or anything like that, so you shouldn't care what some random dude on the internet is saying about, you know, your favorite console or whatever. But, bro, no. The Xbox 360 was inferior to the PlayStation 3, bro. And that's the God honest truth. The God honest truth. Inferior. You hear me? Like, come on, bro. Like, shit. And then
try heading to the arrival building instead. They have a different model decryptor there.
Oh my God, y'all want me to go somewhere else? The arrival building? Where is that at? I bet it's somewhere across the goddamn map. Oh, it's over here.
Go to the arrival building.
And then when y'all sit here and try to convince me about, you know, paying for Xbox Live, which I feel like that's the dumbest thing in the world. You're sitting here paying for, you're paying double to play a game online, like double Jeopardy, you know, Catch-22 type shit, and you're willing to do that shit. That's hysterical in itself right there. But I digress though. Like I said, I don't give a fuck what you do with your money, man. But I'm not paying twice. And when I say twice, I got to pay for my internet provider, Comcast, Xfinity, you know, Verizon, whoever your, you know, internet provider is, and then I got to give Xbox, Microsoft, another $50 on top of that. Yeah, that's a lot of shit that you got to do, man, just to play one game. But hey, do what you want to do with your money, though. Then they try to sit here and be like, well, the reason why we had to pay for Xbox Live is for, you know, to keep track of our friends and, you know, party chat and blah, blah. Bro, PlayStation 3 had party chat too as well. What is we talking about, bro? I was able to be in a party with my friends on PlayStation and join their game. I was able to do that, and it was for free. Now, did the Xbox do it better? Yes, I'll give y'all that. It did it better. It was more uniform. I'll give y'all that. But Xbox Live wasn't nothing groundbreaking. It wasn't. And y'all was paying for that shit. That is hysterical to me. You're paying online, which is the Xbox. You're paying to play a game online on a console that's going to self-destruct within 3 months because it overheats. Hey, man, God bless you, bro. God bless you. God bless you. And y'all can't really say that I'm a fanboy, you know, a Sony fanboy, because if you watch my videos, right, I don't just talk about, you know, the PlayStation 3 going against the Xbox 360. I also talk about how the PlayStation 3 stands up against the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. I feel like the PlayStation 3 is a way better console than the PlayStation 4 and 5. And when I say better, right, hold on a second. Hold on a second. But when I say better, right, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Y'all about to get on my nerves. Leave me alone, bro. But when I say better, right, I'm not talking about games. Because, of course, I'm not that naive, right? I'm not that stupid. to sit here and try to argue and debate and say that, oh, the PlayStation 3 is better because of the game. I'm not saying that. And when I say games, right, I'm talking about like graphically and all that old stuff. Yes, the Xbox, I mean the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, yes, graphically, yes, the games are way better, right? Gameplay, I don't know, but graphically, yes, way better. I will admit that, right? I'm not that ignorant to the fact, right? But what I'm saying is innovation. What did the PlayStation 4 do that was so innovative? What did the PlayStation 5 do that was so innovative? See, when the PlayStation 2 came out, it was innovative, right? It came out with, DVD. You know what I'm saying? It came out with all these features and stuff like that that you could do at the time that was unheard of by a console in 2000. That's innovative. When the PlayStation 3 came out 6 years later in 2006, it came out with Blu-ray, a format that we're still using to this day. It came out with Flash Media. It came out with a web browser. You actually can go online on your PlayStation 3. And when I say online, like you had a web browser. Like I can log into Facebook. I can log into MySpace. I can, search on Google. I can download movies from websites onto my hard drive from the daggone web browser of the PlayStation 3. That's what the PlayStation 3 allowed me to do. That's what I mean by innovative. What did the PlayStation 4 do that was innovative? Nothing. All the PlayStation 4 did was keep up, meaning that it just gave you enough for it can be a next-gen console. The PlayStation 5 following suit with the same type of practice. It just did enough for it can be called a next-gen console. That's why we're in this whole debacle now where the PlayStation 3 came out and everybody was crying about the money and stuff like that or whatever, right? Look how they did your ass, right? When the PlayStation 3 came out, the best console that it came out with, the $600 version, was the original launch title, which was the 20 gig and the 60 gig. That was the full backwards compatible and all that old jazz and all that old, so all the bells and whistles, right? The PlayStation 3 was so over-engineered that Sony was losing anywhere north of $150 to $200 per unit when it came out to the launch consoles of the PlayStation 3. So what did Sony do? They came out with remapped versions and dumbed down versions where, they took away ports, they took away key features, they took away, backwards compatible and all that old shit for it could be a more affordable console for the average consumer, right? And then with that same practice, they use it for their PlayStation 4 so they can better market the PlayStation 4 as an affordable console. But look what you got in return, though. You got a console that came out in 2013 that is somewhat outdated when it comes to the architect of the processor. That's why, 2-3 years later, the PlayStation 4 Pro came out. Like, come on now. Are we thinking real quick? That's why the PlayStation 4 came out, because the PlayStation 4 should have been the launch title, the launch console, but they knew how to, dip and dive in. Since people don't want to spend that much money on a console, we're going to give you an affordable console, but this console ain't going to have all the bells and whistles. Bro, make this make sense to me. PlayStation 4 comes out 2013, replacing the PlayStation 3. Can the PlayStation 4 play PlayStation 3 games? I'm waiting. Can somebody please talk to me?
What the hell? Oh my God, no way, yeah.
Like, you got a console by the PlayStation 4. And this is... Somebody's right here by me. And this is how crazy the PlayStation 4 is, right? The PlayStation 4 is the only console besides the PlayStation 1 that can only play its generation of games. It can't play PlayStation 3 games. It can't play PlayStation 2 games. It can only play PlayStation 4 games. That's all it can play. How is that groundbreaking? How is that revolutionary? Like, how is that? It was an affordable console for the time, for people can buy it in the masses, And then when y'all all bought those consoles, the original PlayStation 4, then they upsell you on a new and improved, revamped PlayStation 4 Pro 2-3 years later down the line. So now y'all got to go out and buy the PlayStation 4 Pro out. And then they seen that all y'all was willing to do that shit. So then they did the same thing with PlayStation 5. They came out with the PlayStation 5. It did its thing or whatever. But if you got a PlayStation 5, and look, this is how they get you, right? If you got a PlayStation 5, just the standard edition, not the Pro edition, a lot of games that is coming out today can't do 120 hertz. They only can do 60. But if you want to do 120 hertz on today's games in 2026, you got to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro. That's how they get your ass. Because y'all sat there and cried and bitch about the price of the PlayStation 3 when they gave you the best console at first. So that's what I say, and that's what I mean by the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 4 is nothing groundbreaking. It's not. The PlayStation 3 was the last system that they made that was groundbreaking. The only thing that PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 is doing is keeping up with the Joneses. It's keeping up with modern time. But it's not thinking outside of the box. It's not future-proofing nobody. It's not thinking about the future. It's only thinking about the present. That's what the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 did. That's why they come out with pro models of that shit. They didn't come out with no pro model of the PlayStation 3. No, because the best console was the first console. So that's what I mean when I say that the PlayStation 3 will forever in my heart. And like I say, at the end of the day, it's just my opinion. But I got some logic behind my opinions, though. It's not like I'm just pulling shit out the space and pulling shit out my ass and just saying, oh, the PlayStation 3 is better because of I said it. No, I got facts behind my talk. But that's why I say that the PlayStation 3 is the greatest console of all time. It just is, bro. Like simple shit, it just is. It's the greatest console that they ever made. You know what I'm saying? That was the last time that Sony truly was innovative, doing, leaps of faith, thinking outside of the box, trying to give consumers a product that when they put it, in front of their TV, if it's in the front room or, in the bedroom, whatever, they don't need nothing else. You don't need a Blu-ray drive. The PlayStation can do that. You don't need, in some senses, a computer. The PlayStation 3 got a web browser for you. You don't need, and you can hook up printers and all that old shit to the PlayStation 3. They got all that shit that you couldn't deal with the PlayStation 3. You don't need nothing else. You just need a PlayStation 3. You don't need no CD. You just need a PlayStation 3. That's it. That's it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Even in today's market, right, where, physical copies are pretty much, yesterday. In today's society, everything is digitally downloaded. The PlayStation 3 can do that too as well. The PlayStation 3 introduced digitally downloaded gaming. Full games. Not just indie games, full games. You was able to do that on the PlayStation 3. A practice that is still being used to this day. Digitally downloading video games. The PlayStation 3 started that shit. Like, what are we talking about? The PlayStation 3 is the greatest console. Everything that we're doing today, it started with the PlayStation 3. My PlayStation 5 over there, that I got sitting in the corner, when I download my video games, full-length games, PlayStation 3 started that shit. When I put in, if I got a disc of a game, if I got a disc of a game and I put it into my PlayStation 5, because I got the PlayStation 5 regular. I don't got what is it? The digital version or something like that. I don't got that version. I got the one with the disc tray. But if I had a PlayStation 5 game and I want to put it in there, guess what that PlayStation 5 game consists of? It's a Blu-ray. A practice that is still being used to this day, and PlayStation 3 started that shit. That's why I say that it is the greatest console of all time. Like, it shouldn't even be an argument. But like I said, I don't knock people. I don't knock people for, loving the game system that they love. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason it may be, nostalgic, sentimental, whatever the reasons may be, man. I don't knock people for that. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna like the console that you like, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not trying to, change your opinion on what console that you like and stuff like that. I'm just saying, when it comes to facts, when it comes to paper, and what is written down on paper, the PlayStation 3 is the greatest console of all time. No other console comes close to what the PlayStation 3 was able to do at that time. Like, just imagine, right? And we're not talking about the games. We're just talking about the console itself. If the PlayStation 3 was able to come out today, it will be able to keep up with modern day gaming. Because modern day gaming ain't doing nothing different than what the PlayStation 3 was able to do 20 years ago. They were able to be keeping up. From the features that the PlayStation 3 has to the design of the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 design was even outdated. It was thinking in the future. PlayStation 3 can come out today and it'll look like a brand new modern day console. Just by how it looks. It's the greatest console, bro. It's the greatest console. It's the greatest console. But like I said, I don't knock people for what they believe in. Some people say that the PlayStation 2 is the greatest console. I get it. Because of the games, the catalog of games and stuff like that. Nostalgic. I get it. But what I'm talking about is all the bells and whistles and everything that the PlayStation 3 was able to do. That's what I'm talking about. Same thing with the Xbox. Bro, the PlayStation 3 will run laps around everything. It will run laps around everything. And this is another funny thing too as well, right? People sit there and say all this shit about the Xbox all the time. If the Xbox was that such great of a console, why didn't it win the console war? Like, make that make sense to me. If it was that such a great of a console, that, it was in everybody's household, well, that's what the internet makes it seem like. I don't know who household Xbox 360 was in. Out of all the people that I knew back in school and shit like that, I only knew like a handful of people that had an Xbox 360. But if it was such a great of a console, why it didn't win the console war? On top of having, inflated numbers. Fly, what you mean by inflated numbers? On top of having inflated numbers because everybody's console was getting the red ring of death and they had to go out and buy another console. So that's another unit being sold right there. I don't even believe that, truthfully, if the Xbox 360 would have came out with no problems, no issues, I don't even believe that it would have sold 80,000 or 80 million copies. I don't even believe that. I honestly, I believe that out of that 80 million that it sold during that generation, right? I feel that at least 20 million of those consoles was people having to go out and rebuy the console because their console caught the red ring of death. They was out of warranty and they was shit out of luck. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. That shit wild, bro. That shit wild.